Hi everyone, it's me Terry of the Yarn Joy podcast. Welcome to part 2 of our sock monkey tutorial. Okay, we are using the Yarnspirations pattern for the sock monkey. I will put a link below in the description box where you can print out that pattern, and also I will leave a link below to part 1 of this tutorial series, so then if you want to make this sock monkey, go watch part 1 first and that will get you started on it. Okay, so if you did your homework for part 1, you should have 2 arms and 2 legs, well these are arms, 2 arms and 2 legs of your sock monkey completed. Okay, so let's go on to the body and the head. Okay, so we're going to take your 2 legs, and I like to put the tails where I cut the yarn, I like to put them toward the center together, because that way if I need to do any stitching as far as closing up in between the sock monkey's legs or anything, if there's any gaps open, I have these tails that I can use. Okay, now if you remember, there's 12 stitches around each leg. Okay, and we are going to be using all 12 of those stitches when we reunite these legs together, okay? Plus, we're going to add 4 more stitches. So when we get these connected, you should have 28 stitches around instead of 12 and 12, which would be 24, okay? Okay, so now in the instructions it said that once you finish the second leg that you could not cut the yarn, but I went ahead and cut the yarn because I wanted you to go ahead and get the arms done as well. Okay, so it's no problem to rejoin the yarn again. So I took my yarn that I'm using for the body of my sock monkey, and I went ahead and attached it to my hook with a slip knot. Okay, so now I'm going to do a, I think they call it a starting or standing single crochet. So I'm not going to join it with a slip knot. I'm going slip stitch. I'm going to join onto my leg with a single crochet. Okay, so I want to start with one of the stitches that is, I want to start with one of the stitches that is close to where my tail is coming out of. I'll start right there. And I'm going to go into that stitch with this loop in front of my work, okay? And I'm going to insert my hook underneath the first stitch and then draw up a loop just like I'm doing a single crochet, okay? And then I'm going to yarn over and go through all 2 loops and made a single crochet. And that is the first stitch of this round. So I'm going to go ahead and get my stitch marker, and I'm going to mark that stitch as being the first stitch of that round. Okay, and remember there's 12 stitches in this leg, so I already did one of them. So once I get to this leg again, when I when I'm crocheting them together, I'll have 11 stitches around because I've already did the first one of the 12. Okay, got it? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and see what it says here. It says to chain 2. Okay, so 1 and 2. This is going to create the little bridge or the crotch area of the sock monkey. Okay, and let me look at my instructions here. Chain 2. Okay, now I'm going to go into the second leg, and I'm going to do 12 single crochets. So I'm going to go all the way around that second leg, okay, in all 12 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to look from the top to see where I created that invisible stitch, and I'm going to go, let's see, I'm going to go into, actually you could go into any of the stitches. I just like to, like I said, have it where that yarn tail is kind of toward the inside there. Okay, so I'm going to go into the first stitch there, and I'm going to do a single crochet. So that is single crochet number 1. And remember, I have to go around 12 of them around the same leg. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, whoops, okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, okay, and then we got 12 right here, so 12, okay. We've gone around every stitch on that leg, okay, and now we're on the back side. Okay, so now we need to do 2 stitches in that chain 2, that bridge or whatever that we made there, the crotch. We need to do 2 stitches into that chain, okay. So two single crochets. So there's the first one. Then we got to make one more into that chain. There's the second one. Okay, and now we're going to go around the first, this is the first leg where we started, and we're going to go around 11 stitches, since remember we already did the first one, which would have been number 12. Okay, so we're going to go, and not skipping any stitches, we can kind of see where that first one was, so we're going to go into the next one, and we should be going in to, we're going to be going 11 stitches around this leg now. So 1, and there's the one we created with the invisible join, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, okay? And then 12, the stitch number 12 is the first stitch that we use to join, right? So let me take my marker out, and we're going to know that is the first stitch of the round, or stitch number 12 going around that leg, okay? So let's go on to the next one. It says now we're going to do rounds 2 through 16, and we're going to just do 1 stitch in each stitch around. So we should have 28 stitches all the way around, okay? So remember, these first 2 right there are actually the first side of the chain, so we do need to put 2 single crochets in there, okay? So let's go ahead and go on to round 2, and we're going to be counting. That way we can make sure we have our 28 stitches now. So we're going into that stitch that we had the marker in, and that's stitch number 1, okay? So do our single crochet, and then I'm going to put my marker in there. Okay, now I have come up to where that chain 2 was, that bridged across between the 2 legs. So I need to make sure, remember it was a chain 2, so I need to make sure I put 1 single crochet in each of those chains. Okay, they do count as a stitch. So this will be number 2, because I already did number 1 there. So that's stitch number 1, that's stitch number 2. I've got 1 more chain I need to do a stitch into. Okay, that's number 3. Now we're going around the leg. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, now we're going across there, 16, 17, now we've reached the other leg, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. And so after stitch number 28, we should be back to the marker again, and we are, so that's good. So that was row 2 of the body. Okay, so looking on the instructions, we see that now we're on row 3. So now we have to go from round 3, sorry, all the way to round 16. Okay, and we're gonna do 28 stitches around. We're not gonna change the stitch count whatsoever. Okay, so if you want to, you can get an additional let me see if I can find one, an additional stitch marker. Yeah, here's one. I'll reach around the camera here. Okay, additional stitch marker to mark that this is round 2. Okay, so I'm going to put it just in the side of this single crochet, the last one I made, so it won't interfere with me stitching into it, because see, I didn't go through the top, I went through the side of the single crochet, just to let me know that that round right there is round 2 for when I'm counting. If I lose track of my counting, then I can start with that one and I can count up 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. You follow me? And then so I want to do that all the way until I finish round 16. Okay, and now the orange stitch marker, I'm going to keep moving that one, because that one is marking my first stitch of each round. Okay, this one I'm going to leave there on the side of that stitch, because I know that this is round 2. I will count from there 2 and then 3, 4, 5, like that, all the way up my rows if I lose track of my counting, and until I get up to, so I'll have 16 rounds. Okay, not rows, sorry, rounds. So I'm going to keep working on mine until I finish my round 16, okay? And then we will come back and see what else it says for us to do for this body, okay? I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I just finished round 16. I took my marker here, and remember when we put the marker, that was at round number 2, and so then I just counted up, starting from there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that, all the way up, and I did reach, I counted 16 rounds, okay? So going on to round 17, we're going to have a decrease round, so let me take my marker out. And it says decrease, and then single crochet in the next 5 single crochets, and then repeat that again, and we're going to do that 4 times. So the first thing we're going to do is going to do an invisible decrease. So I'm going to go under the front loop of the very next stitch, and then under the front loop of the next stitch also as well, okay? And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, okay? And then yarn over and then complete a regular single crochet from there. And then I'm going to mark that stitch because it's my first stitch for that round. Okay. Now it says after you do the decrease, you're going to single crochet in the next 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? And then we're going to repeat that sequence all the way around. So we're going to decrease, I'm going to do the invisible decrease, and then 1 single crochet in the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? So I'm going to do that 2 more times, and that should bring me all the way back to when I get to the marker again. Okay, so I'm going to finish these 2 repeats, and then I will meet you when I get to the marker. Okay, so I got back around to the marker again. So I just finished round 17, and before I go any further, I'm going to pull up a loop and remove my hook, and I'm going to go ahead and stuff some more of my body before I get up too high. So I want to stuff, and I'm even going to push down into the top of the leg on each side a little bit as well. Like I said, I like to stuff it pretty firmly. So I'm just stuffing into each leg an additional amount of stuffing. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put stuffing into the body. Okay, and then like I said, I will be stuffing as I go, just like I did the arms and the legs. So now I'm going to put my hook back into the loop and pull that working yarn down. Take out my marker, and I'm going to go on to round 18. Okay, round 18 says I'm going to do a decrease and then single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Oh, and at the end of round 17 you should have had 24 stitches around your opening now. Okay, and so in round 18 I'm going to decrease and then do single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and I'm going to do that 4 times, and at the end of round 18 we should have 20 single crochets. Okay, so decrease first. I'm going to do the invisible decrease again, and then place my marker into that first stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so decrease and then single crochet in the next 4 stitches. And I'm going to do that 3 more times, and that will get me back to the marker again. Okay, so I'll meet you up when I get back to the marker. Okay, so I just finished round 18, and we're going to have one more decrease round that we need to do, which is round 19. But in round 19, this is when I'm going to attach the arms. Okay, now at the end of round 18 we have 20, you should have 20 stitches all the way around. Okay, and if you divide that by 4, because what I like to do is divide it by fourths, because we'll have the front, the back, and each side, and that'll kind of help me figure out where to place the arms. Okay, and we have 20 stitches, so that means it would be 5 stitches in the front, 5 in the back, and 5 on each side. Okay, and in round 19, this next round, we're going to decrease, do one more decrease round, and that will give us 16 stitches around, which would work out perfectly because you have 4 stitches that, when we closed up the arms, you should have 4 stitches across, so that would be 4 and 4 on one side, 4 on the other side, and then 4 in the front, 4 in the back. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we will be doing the decreases to get this from 20 down to 16 stitches in this next round, but we're going to be adding the arms at the same time. Okay, so I'm looking to see where my marker is. My first stitch is right there. And for me, that's, I'm going to say that is the front of my monkey. Okay. And then, so if I count 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that kind of puts it between this stitch, my first one, and this one, which is, I'm just looking to see if it's even, you know, like centered in the front, and it is pretty well, because the very first stitch we're going to actually decrease, and we're going to put these 2 stitches together, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is pretty much centered. Actually, I think one more stitch over would make it more centered in the front, which is fine. So let's start that. Now, if you are not starting in the front, if you're more on the side, then you may need to you can, let's see, take your marker out, and then you can add, you know, move over a stitch if you need to, like that. See how I made 1 stitch there, just to try to get myself kind of even across the front, or centered to start. And then when I put my arm on that side, it will be right at the, oops, sorry, it will be right at the end of the round. You're just trying to get them where the arms are going to end up lined up with the leg. Okay, I hope that's making sense. Probably if you just watch me do it, it might make more sense than me trying to put it into words. Okay, so I moved over, as you saw, I moved over 1 stitch now, and I'm not even going to count that as the first stitch of my round. I'm just going to continue from there. I just wanted to get more over toward the center of the monkey. Okay, so since I am working on the front area, it's not time for me to put the arm in there yet, and so just remember, since I've got 20 stitches around, that means the first 5 stitches will take me across the front, okay, except that the first 2 is going to be a decrease. That's actually going to be a decrease, and then 3 single crochets. And then once I get those 3 single crochets done, that would be time for me to attach this arm, because it'll be in the second fourth of the stitches. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's get started here. Okay, so we're going to decrease and then do a single crochet in the next 3 stitches after that. So the first thing we're going to do is decrease. So I'm doing an invisible decrease for my first stitch. Okay, now I'm going to put my marker in there to mark that as my first stitch of the round. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go on to the next, it says, so after I did the decrease, I need to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and if we count that first decrease as 1 stitch, we can see that we've completed the first fourth of our round. See that, because that first decrease, that makes 1 stitch, 2, 3, 4. See, we've completed our first fourth of the round. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, now we're going to do another decrease to start the second fourth of our round, but I'm going to start attaching my arm. Okay, so what I do is I go through the first stitch of my arm, okay, the first stitch, and then I go through the next stitch on the body. Okay, and remember, this is going to be a decrease stitch, so I'm going to this is going to be more like doing 2 stitches to get a single crochet, 2 stitches together, instead of doing the invisible decrease, because you're going through so many layers. So just pull up a loop all the way through the body and the arm, okay, and then now go into the next stitch on the arm and the next stitch on the body and pull up a loop all the way through, and now you have 3 stitches, loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those. So that's your first decrease, and you've attached the arm. And then it says now you're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So you have 2 more that you have to go through on the arm. So there's 1 which you would go through the arm and the stitch in the body, the next stitch on the body, okay, and just do a regular single crochet there. So that's the first regular single crochet. And then you got to do it again. So this will be the last stitch that you're going through the arm, and then the next one on the body. So that's single crochet number 2. Okay, and then you got to do 1 more single crochet, and that is now just going to be in the body. Okay, there you go. So we've got the first arm attached. Okay, now we are going across the back side, and it's just going to be regular. We're not attaching anything this time, so we're just going to do an invisible decrease, okay, and then 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're going to attach our second arm. And we're going to do it the same way that we attached the first arm, okay? So we're going to, this first one has to be a decrease stitch. So we're going to go through the first stitch of the arm and into the next stitch of the body. Pull up a loop, sorry. Like that, okay? And then go into the next stitch of the arm and the next stitch of the body. Pull up a loop. 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that'll get our decrease made. Okay, and now we've got 2 more stitches here on the arm, and we're just going to do regular single crochets there. So through the next stitch of the arm and the next stitch of the body. Okay, that makes 1 single crochet, and then through the next stitch of the arm and the next stitch of the body, and that'll make 2 single crochets. And then 1 more single crochet just in the body only, and that will bring us back to the marker. There you go. So now, if you count your stitches going around the circle now, you should have 16 stitches going around the circle, okay? And I'm going to pull up a loop here and look at what I've done here. You have your arms connected to the body, okay? Now, I do see how this one, if you feel like it's a little bit not attached very well, what you can do is just help it out a little bit by getting, I'm going to take off some of the yarn off of the skein here from the other end of the skein without cutting my, cutting my yarn. And then I'm going to take it, yarn up my needle, and then go, and since it's open, it's going to be really easy to sew that on. And so I'm going to go from the inside of the body, just like maybe down a row or so, and then go through that and through this piece of this arm that seems like it doesn't look like it's attached very well. Just like that. Keep a tail hanging out, and then I'm just going to go and go back through the body. See, and you can secure that edge better if you feel like it doesn't look like it's strongly enough attached. And then do the same thing. We're just going through the body in another spot and through that arm. Just like that. It's real easy to do this when there's a hole open still, because then you can just tie the beginning tail, and when I end off, I can just tie them together and secure them really well with a knot, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, so I think I'll do another maybe stitch or so, going through the arm and the body both. See that? See? And see, that secured it down even more, okay? And then you can go over to the other side of the arm and do the same thing, you know, up through the body and the arm on the edge, just like that, and then back through. Just like that. Oops. I went through the tail. There, okay. So just a few stitches to secure the edge if you feel like you need to secure it even more. Just like that. Okay, and if you like how it's connected, I think maybe I'll do it one more time to kind of reinforce it. And then back through again, through the arm and the body. Just like that. And then if you feel like it's secure enough, then you can just take the needle out and then take the beginning tail from the yarn that you added to secure down the arms and the tail where the needle was. And see, I'm not interfering with my working yarn at all. And then I'm just going to tie this in a knot a couple of times to secure it. Like that. And then you can just stuff all this tail and everything. You can just stuff it on the inside of your monkey. Okay. Like that. And see, it gives it an even more secure join. Okay. And then you can go and get another length of yarn and then do that for your other arm as well. Okay. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and get another length of yarn, and I'm going to secure the edges of this other arm. and then tie a knot, stick the yarn, poke the yarn on the inside there, and then we'll continue on with the next round, which will actually be the first round where we're starting to form the head. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I just finished securing my arm down. So yes, we did end up doing a little bit of hand sewing attaching the arm, but like I said, it's much easier if you have where you can get to the inside there and knot things off on the inside to secure them even more. Okay, so going on, we are ordinarily the pattern says to fasten off right here and then start creating the head, but I'm going to instead of fastening off, I'm just going to work the head. Actually, I'm working the head backwards because the original head is made from the top going down to the neck, and then you attach them together. But instead of doing that, I'm going to just work from the neck going up to the top. If you look at your instructions for your head, it makes it pretty easier since it's got the stitch numbers at the end of each round. Like for round 1, you should have 6. You start with 6 single crochets, and then you go to 12, and then you increase to 18, and then to 24. And then you stay at 24 for a few rounds. You're looking at your pattern here. And then the next row, it starts decreasing because you're decreasing down to the neck. And so it goes from 24 to 20 and then to 16. And then that matches up with the neck. Okay, so we are at 16 stitches right now. So I am going to go ahead to where the end of the head is, and I'm going to be working my rounds backwards. Okay, so I'm going to first start with this where it says round 13, which should end up with 16 stitches. I'm already at 16 stitches, so I don't have to do any increasing or decreasing or anything. I'm just going to do one round of 16 stitches. Okay, so let's do that. So taking my marker out, I'm going to just do one round of 16 stitches all the way around, which is just one single crochet in each stitch. So there's the first one. Let me put my marker back. Okay, and now I'm going to do 15 more stitches to get me all the way back to the marker again. Okay, so let me do that, and then I will meet you when I get back to the marker. Okay, so I just finished that round, which would be actually round 13 on the pattern because we're going backwards. Okay, forming the head. Okay, so I just did a round of just one single crochet all the way around, so I still have 16 stitches all the way around my circle. Okay, now another little tip I want to show you. Let me pull my hook out a little bit so I don't lose my stitch. Okay, if you look at the stitches, these decreasing, to me, these decreasing rounds, sometimes it will, if you want your body to be firm, because you know I am stuffing it as I go, sometimes it looks like you can see some stuffing through some of these stitches, these decreased stitches. So another tip that I have is when I get close to a small amount of stitches and doing decreasing, a lot of times you'll have stuffing that may be showing through. So if you want to take some of your yarn, and I just take it from the other end of the skein, okay, and just take a pretty good amount of yarn, cut that off. I'm sorry, I'm not on camera. Okay, here's my yarn, see? And I just kind of wad it up, and then I put it inside, and it's the same color as the body, and so those holes won't be as noticeable. Okay, so I'm just going to stuff some yarn in there of the same color, just like that, see? And I may go ahead and, yeah, I'm going to get some more and get some more of that and do it again. I think it really helps make it where the stuffing doesn't like show through stitches as much. Okay, cut this. Like I said, I'm just pulling off from the other end of the skein because I don't want to cut my working yarn right now. Okay, so see, I got another ball of yarn. I'm going to stuff it in that hole like that. I think it really helps. Okay, So see? You don't see the white stuffing as much. Okay, so if I need to do that again, I'll do it. But right now I'm going to go ahead and go on, and because we're just kind of stuffing as we go. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to put my yarn back into, my hook back into that stitch and get ready to go on to the next round. Okay, so let me show you the pattern here. Oh, well, sorry. If you're watching the right-handed version, the wording will be backwards to you. So let me just tell you what the word, I'll just read it off my paper instead of showing it on the camera because I forget that the wording would be backwards for the right-handed version because I'm a lefty. Okay, so that was round 13 of the head if you look at your paper, and then so the next one would be round 12. See, we're going backwards with the head, and so if you look at the stitch count, the round 13 was 16 single crochets around, and so now we're going to go from 16, we want to go up to 20 stitches. At the end of round 12, at the end there it says 20 single crochets, see? So if you look in the instructions on round 13, it says decrease and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Well, instead of doing that, we are going to increase and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches, okay? And we're going to do that all the way around, okay? So let's do that. Okay, so we're going to take our marker out of the first stitch. And then in this stitch, this first stitch, we're going to do an increase. So we're going to put 2 single crochets into that first stitch, so 1 and 2, okay? And then we're going to put our marker back into the first of those 2 that we made. We want to put it in the first one because that's the first stitch of the round. Okay, so now we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, okay, and then 2, so we're going to do 1 in the next one and then 1 in the next one. That's 3 of them, right? Okay, and then now we're going to do an increase again, okay? So we're going to do an increase, which is 2 single crochets in the next stitch, so 1 and 2, all in the next same stitch, okay? And now we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, okay? So there's 1, 2, 3, okay? So now do that 2 more times with an increase and then 3 stitches and then an increase and 3 stitches, and that will get you back to the marker, okay? So I'm going to do that 2 more times and I'll meet you when I get to the marker. Okay, so I'm now back to the marker, and if you count your stitches around your circle here, let me take my hook out. If you count your stitches around that circle, you should now have 20 stitches around the circle, and that's exactly what you're wanting. Looking at the round 12 of the head, at the end there it says you should end up with 20 stitches, and we have 20 stitches, okay? So we're right on track. Okay, so now going on to the next one, the next the next set of instructions, which would be round 11, if you look at it, it's a multiple number because it says rounds 5 through 11, okay? And at the end of that, it doesn't have a number, but if you look before, one more before, in front of that, which is round 4, it says 24 stitches. So in round 11, we're going to have 24 stitches, you know, in this next round. So we need to increase again from, because we got 20 right now, we need to go from 20 to 24, okay? And so the way we do that is we do the instructions for round 12. It says decrease and then single crochet in the next 4. Well, we're not going to decrease, we're going to increase and then single crochet in the next 4. Okay, so let's do that. Put our hook back in the stitch, take our marker out, and then we're going to do an increase, which is 2 single crochets into 1 stitch, so 1 and 2, okay, in the same stitch. Put our marker into the first of those 2 that we did. We want to put it in the first one. That's the first of our row. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet each in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? And then now we're going to do that 3 more times. So I'm going to do an increase, which is 2 single crochets in that 1 stitch, and then 1 single crochet in one each in the next 4 stitches, and then do that again. An increase, which is 2 stitches in one, and then 4 of the singles, right? Okay, and so I'm going to do that 3 more times, and I will meet you when I get back to the marker, okay? So increase is 2 stitches in one, so 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4, and then we're going to do that again. Increase, and then 4 stitches, and then increase, 4 stitches, and we'll be back to the marker. So I'll meet you when I get to the marker. Okay, so I'm back at the marker again, and if you count your stitches, you should have 24 stitches around your opening now, okay? So now we're going to do several rows of just going 1 in each stitch around. We're not going to be increasing for a few rows, okay? So if we look on our paper, we see that it said rounds 5 through 11. We're going to do just 1 stitch, a single crochet in each single crochet around. Well, we just did row 11. This last row that we did to increase up to 24, that was row 11, okay? So that means 5 through 10, it's going to be just 1 stitch all the way around, 1 stitch in each stitch around, okay? Plus, if you go work your way back 1 more round, it's round 4, and the end of that round says that should be 24 stitches too. So that's actually another repeat because we're at 24 already. So we're actually going to do round 4 to 10. So that'd be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 7 rounds that we're going to do, just no increasing at all, okay? So let's do 7 rounds, okay, 7 more rounds. And like I said, what we can do it like we did the last time. We can get our second stitch marker, and we can mark the side of the stitch of the round we just were working on, okay? And so that's going to be we're going to do 7 rounds from there, okay? So once we finish the next round, that's going to be round 1, okay? And then we can kind of use this marker to know where to count from, because we wouldn't count from that round, we would count 1 round up, and that would be number 1 for the 7 repeats, okay? Okay, so let's just do 7 rounds, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, okay? And I will meet you when I get my 7 rounds done, okay? Okay, so I just finished my 7 rounds, and I still have a stitch count of 24 stitches all the way around my piece. I did count to confirm that I had 7 rounds, and then I took out my beginning stitch marker here to mark the beginning of where I need to count 7. And I did also put some more stuffing in there because I'm stuffing as I go, okay? So now we're going to start decreasing to finish off the top of the head, okay? So if you look at your instructions for the head, we're still working our way backwards, and so in round 4, at the end of round 4, it said 24 stitches, which is the last row that we just completed, okay? And so the next round is round 3, working backwards. We're going to go from 24 stitches to 18 stitches, so we're going to decrease. And so now where the instructions on round 4 says to increase and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches, we're not going to increase, we're going to decrease and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches, okay? And then we're going to do that 4 times around, and that will give us 18 stitches at the end of the round, okay? So let's take out our stitch marker, and now we're going to, instead of increase, we're going to decrease into, over the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to do the invisible decrease by going underneath the front loops of the first 2 stitches, okay, and then make my single crochet. So there's my invisible decrease. Put my stitch marker into that stitch because that's the first one for the round, and then I'm going to just do a regular single crochet, 1 each in the next 2 stitches, so 1 and 2. Okay, I'm sorry, not repeating 4 times, we're repeating 6 times now. Okay, so now we're going to do it again. So invisible decrease over the next 2 stitches, and then 1 single crochet each in the next 2 stitches. So 1, and then 1 in the next one. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way around until we get back to the marker. Okay, so invisible decrease, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So I will meet you when I get to the marker, okay? Okay, so I just finished that round, which is on our instructions. It would have been round, well, between round 4 and 3, but actually it's round 3. We're working backwards. Anyway, it's the round where we end up with 18 stitches at the end of our circle, okay? 18 stitches around. Okay, so now if you look between rounds 3 and then back to round 2 on the head, we need to go from 18 stitches down to 12 stitches. So we're going to do another decrease round. This time we're going to decrease, invisible decrease 1 time, and then do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then invisible decrease again, and then 1 single crochet, and then in, you know, like that. Okay, so let's get started and you can see what I mean. Okay, so I took my marker out. I'm going to do an invisible decrease over the first 2 stitches. Put my marker back in to the stitch I just made, okay? And then I'm going to do just 1 single crochet in the next stitch. That's it, okay? And now that's my repeat. So I'm going to do invisible decrease over the next 2 stitches, and then 1 regular single crochet in the next stitch, okay? Invisible decrease over the next 2 stitches, 1 single crochet in the next, okay? So repeat that around until we get back to the marker, and I will meet you there. Okay, so we are at the end of this row, and so on the end of the, round, and so the end of this round we should have 12 stitches around our circle now. Okay, so now I'm going to pull my hook out, pull the loop up a little bit so I don't lose a stitch, and then I'm going to go ahead and put some more stuffing in there, because the next round we're going to do is we're going to increase 1 more time. And what we're going to do, not increase, sorry. We're going to decrease 1 more time. And so we're going to go down from 12 stitches down to 6 stitches, okay? And so we are going to decrease, invisible decrease in every stitch all the way around. Pairs of 2. And so that'll get a stitch count down to 12. So I want to go ahead and get my head stuffed really well. And since my monkey's going to have a hat on, and I'm going to go ahead and sew the hat down when I make the hat, and so the hat won't be removable, so I'm not going to be as concerned about putting the same color yarn right at the top before I finish it off, to hide where the stuffing might show through, because he's going to have a hat on. But if you're going to have the hat where it's detachable, where you can take it off, then you may want to, right at the top, get some more of your yarn, pulling from the other end of the skein, and do what we did in the neck area and stuff the very top with some more of the same colored yarn, so that way it won't show, the stuffing won't show through, okay? But since I'm not going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and sew the hat on. It doesn't matter, so I'm just going to keep using the stuffing. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and do the next round, and I may put some stuffing in there right before I end it off, right at the top, just as a topper. Top it off. So let's go on to the very last row. It's actually between round 2 and round 1 of the head, and we're going to be going from 12 single crochets around. We're going to decrease until we get to 6. We'll have 6 single crochets around, okay? So I'm going to take my marker out, and I'm going to do a decrease over the next 2 stitches. Invisible decrease. Okay, so that's 1. Go ahead and put my marker back. Okay, and then we're going to just do decreases all the way around. Okay, so that was stitch number 1. We're going to end up with 6. There's number 2. Number 3. Okay, now I'm halfway around, so I think I'm going to get a little bit of yarn, not yarn, a little bit of stuffing, just small pieces, and kind of fill up that top area. I kind of go under, get my finger and go under the rim, under the edge there, to fill and kind of shape it. like that. Okay. Okay, let's get another decrease going here. So that was 3 of them. So now we're going to decrease over the next 2 stitches, and that will give us our stitch number 4. Okay. And then let's do it again. That will give us our stitch number 5. We're going to do another decrease there. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my marker out because I've got 1 more decrease to go. Okay. I think I might go ahead and put a little bit more stuffing in there. Okay, and then 1 more decrease. Let's see, right here. It's kind of hard when you're working with little tiny stitches that are real close together. There. Okay, so that's our 6. Okay, so now I'm going to cut my yarn, and it doesn't have to be real long. I mean, it needs to be long enough so you can kind of draw up the hole at the top and weave our ends in. Okay, and then I'm going to take my where I left off, and I'm just going to go to I like to go to the very first stitch and do just do a regular slip stitch, okay, to end off, and then I'm just going to pull my yarn all the way through. Okay, now I'm going to get my yarn needle, and I'm going to thread my needle here, and then I'm just going to go around like the front loop only of the 6 stitches that I ended up with. I'm going to go from the front to the back under that front loop only, and then the next stitch I'm going to go from the back to the front through the front loop only. Okay, so I alternate that all the way around, so front to the back, and then the next stitch back to the front. Okay, and then you just pull it tight, or not real tight, but you pull it close, see? And then you just kind of run your needle under there. If you see some stuffing through some of the holes, that's another thing you can do, is you can kind of go underneath those where those hole gaps are, so that way you'll see the yarn through the hole and stuff instead of the stuffing. But like I said, I'm going to attach my hat, and so it won't matter that much. Okay. Just put a few stitches in there, okay, and then I'm going to go down that same hole and then go across the head and just bring it out somewhere. I'm just like hiding the yarn tail in there, like that. And I went ahead and unthreaded my needle. Gonna cut my tail off there close to the head, and then if that little tail is sticking out, just run your needle under there close to it, and that will pull that tail on the inside. Okay, so there is our body complete. Now these loose strands here I have between the legs, you can just kind of look in there and see if there's some gaps that you may want to use these tail to stitch up any gaps that you feel like needs to be closed up a little bit more, but there shouldn't be. I mean, you know, there could be, but that's what's good about these tails, is because you can kind of hide any gaps that might have been left from where you join the legs together. Okay, so you just weave those in, and when you're happy with the way they look, then you just cut your tail off there, your yarn tail, see? And then do the same thing with this other one, and then it'll be finished, okay? I mean, that part. So this is the end of part 2. Come back for part 3, and then we will finish it up. So in part 3, we're going to make the muzzle and the ears and the hat, and then get the face sewed on. Okay? And that's when you'll actually start using some of your red yarn too. Okay, so thanks for going along with me with this tutorial. I hope that some of the tips that I've been given as far as the construction, I hope that it's been helpful for you, and I hope you're having a good time making your sock monkey. So stay tuned for part 3, and we will finish it up, okay? So just be on the lookout for part 3, okay? Talk to you later, guys. Bye.